96.1 to beat Ferrari Simmons.
You know BT.
Native Land Pod in the building.
Let's get it.
Welcome, y'all.
All right, so
Welcome
Angela
home.
Ride, Tiffany Cross, Andrew Gillum.
You got it, brother?
I got it right. I appreciate you guys pulling up on us,
He
man.
know how to pronounce
appreciate
words.
y'all
Literally.
having us.
No, listen. So
Literally pulled
we
up.
was talking about
Literally.
we was talking to the good brother Kevin Lyles earlier, and we was talking about the importance of voting. I went and voted today.
I love that.
And voting early was literally 45-minute wait
Really?
Yeah.
to vote early.
And Scream went 2 weeks ago, and it was short. It was short
Yeah.
when he went.
But you know, Screams stay far.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
That's a
Wait,
good
let
sign,
me ask
though.
you this: were there a lot of people who look like you?
Nope. That's what I want to get into because there
Oh,
was a lot of
interesting.
people that did not look like
Lord.
me in line.
Where'd you
Somehow
vote?
lied about voting.
In DeKalb County out here in Atlanta.
Oh
So
Lord,
it's Tucker area.
that's making
Yeah,
So
I
it's a
used
circle,
to-
285.
I'm familiar.
And
Yeah.
boom, right there.
I
you
used to
know?
live in Tucker.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
after the Spaghetti Junction.
Mm-hmm. So,
But that
Making
don't
my
just
heart
because
beat
it was white
fast.
people don't necessarily.
it wasn't
mean that
white.
they
It was
weren't.
mixed. It was mixed. They didn't. Nobody looked like me though.
So it was
Well,
a
when
diverse
you-
coalition of voters.
Extremely diverse.
okay.
Yeah,
When
that's-
you say they didn't look like you,
Yeah, what's
Were
that
there
mean?
other
were there
black
other
people?
black folks?
I
there?
ain't really see no black people at all.
So when you say diverse, were they Latino,
Latino
and
and
I
white?
saw Latino. I saw
Okay.
a lot of white.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
But also, he's not in Fulton.
Yeah.
Fulton County.
No,
is-
but DeKalb County matter too.
Yes.
DeKalb
yeah.
County matters a lot. It's one of the biggest counties.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
y'all matter a whole bunch.
My heart is
the
Everybody
Latinos
matters.
who are here are from where?
The Latinos are here from Mexico.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay.
Majority.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
We don't have that.
That's Miami
much
that
in
got
Florida.
Yeah,
got your
Miami.
Puerto
That's his neck of the
Rican.
woods.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Venezuelan.
I'm from West Palm originally,
Oh.
by way of Tampa.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Homeboy for you
So
too.
where
I
were you
got
born?
family in
West
Atlanta.
Palm or
West Palm.
You were born. Okay.
But my dad's side of the family, well, my parents are Caribbean. Grew up in Florida. I was born in Florida. My dad's side of the family is in Tampa. Went
Yeah.
to college in Tampa. But I also have family in Atlanta, so I was West Palm, Tampa, Atlanta,
Uh-huh.
majority of my life.
Yeah.
Were
What part of
was
West
your
Palm?
family impacted by the hurricane?
Not really.
Oh, good.
My dad just had a tree fall in front of his
Thank
house.
God,
He was
thank
cool. But yeah, growing up to me, I moved to Atlanta because I couldn't get hired on the radio in Tampa based off the demographics. I didn't understand that
Interesting.
until I moved here because I kept saying, okay, because they hired someone that was bilingual, which makes sense now.
Yeah.
Because Tampa has a large population of people that speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Tampa, Orlando.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that until I moved here. And I was like, oh, this is why I got hired here so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get hired in Tampa. So,
In
you know.
Tampa, Hispanics are Cuban,
Yeah, look at you.
except progressive Cuban, different than Miami's Cubans.
Very
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
And then Orlando is different too.
Sure.
You get a lot of influx of New York in
A lot of
Orlando.
Puerto Ricans. In
I was
Orlando.
gonna say a large influx of Puerto Ricans in
Lot of
Orlando
Puerto
after the
Ricans.
earthquake, and they thought that was gonna make a huge difference in 2018
Yeah.
around the election.
Yeah.
In 2016 actually around the election. But
I mean, Latinos clearly the largest minority and the largest eligible
Yeah.
voting group.
They eclipse
except
black
they
voters.
they don't
They eclipsed us.
but eligible
they
not
don't bu-
registered.
they don't box their weight
So,
Right.
question: Why do y'all think that Trump lost the last election?
because he should never have won the first one
So why are people so afraid of him winning this election?
because he's dangerous.
I think he lost the last election because Republicans did not take him as seriously in 2016. I think they were so holding tight to power. And when they saw what happened in the 4 years that he was in the White House, a small percentage of sensible Republicans either abstained or did not cast their ballots for him. And so then you had this rise of never Trumpers. Angela and I have this discussion all the time because we have interesting allies now. I wouldn't necessarily call them allies, but we're making strange bedfellows because the never Trumper people get a lot of credit, I think undue credit, because they created this landscape. So they don't understand, like, yeah, Trump may be, less articulate and more clumsy, but this is the only Republican Party we've ever known. Their policies has always been just as damaging to black folks. So now I'm not anyway ready to applaud them. The few people who are saying, no, we don't want to vote for him. It's like all we see is y'all cannibalizing at this point. So we'll see who has sense now.
Now, Angela, what do you feel about like black people are talking about, like the black people that are voting for Trump when they're talking about if you ask them like, well, what makes you vote for Trump, and people will say, well, we had money and stuff, during COVID when he was in office.
You know, I'm really troubled by the rhetoric, in part because I really want to know how many of the folks who are saying that, one, are registered voters, two, actually did benefit, or are they saying that because they think that's popular in the ecosystem? Do you go viral if you say that? Are you more popular? Will you get a little window of opportunity if you say something controversial? Mm-hmm. So I'm actually really concerned about it, and I'm also fascinated by it. I pissed these guys off. I played something on the podcast once where I was like, no, like, look at this. Like, I'm fascinated by it. So I want to understand, like, how, based on everything our folks have been through in this country, how do you come to reach that conclusion? You know, I don't know a lot of folks, and if I do know them, they don't boldly tell me that they're voting for Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. But the ones who I've met, they seem to be caricatures of themselves, right? Like it's a song and dance. It's a whole, you know, Tim Scott at a Donald Trump rally, we love you. Like, it's just weird.
Yeah, it almost seems like they're tap dancing for the master.
And I'm trying not to use slavery terms anymore. I just was saying.
I mean, it's just that's just what I see. Like, if you see, like, anytime that I see, and you know, this is just me not trying to add race or anything to it, but it's just like anytime that I see people that look like us, there's, you know, green Trump is never could be like cordial. Hey, I'm endorsing this, and it always got to be we up there tap dancing and all this stuff.
Tag me in. Let me also say I haven't really seen anyone
we stealing that.
give me some eligible facts that I can say. Oh,
yeah,
I can see why maybe you chose to do this.
Yeah,
but I can
I'm
see
not
that
getting
for
any
folks
facts.
who are rich. But even some of the folks who are rich, at least, you know, we would perceive them as rich. Some of the entertainers who have endorsed them ain't rich enough to have benefited from his tax cuts. So it's like you are playing a part to show your people that you are this rich, to have been impacted in some significant way by Donald Trump's policy. All the while, you're playing the role and playing yourself. Mm-hmm. And playing your people as a result. No.
Sometimes they're playing themselves because the truth is that some celebrities have gotten with him because he's got pocket pardons.
Sure, but they even have to pay for that.
And they've lined up. They're like, look, I can't get adjudicated any other way. I've got this offense. I want my rights back. I want, you know, so on and so forth. And in exchange for my getting behind you, in addition to that little small check you broke me off, will you also pardon me or my cousin or my this or my that? And they know that we don't operate that way largely on the Democratic side because it's you got to have a process. You said the facts that people spew, you don't even, you know, it doesn't make logical sense. Well, let's go to the check. The check didn't make logical sense to credit Trump because it came from Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats who controlled Congress at the time. Mm-hmm. It only arrived at the president's desk because Democrats created the legislation, passed the legislation, and then sent it to him to sign. The second check that came through.
To sign the bill, not the check. But
Right.
Sign the check.
Well, and then, of course, when he signed the bill, he instructed the Commerce Department, which, of course, produces the dollars, it says,
Treasury.
hey, the Treasury Department, don't send those checks yet. Let's reprint them and put my name at the bottom.
So he's marketing himself
always
off of the U.S. Treasury.
But we know him as a great businessman.
Not at
not
all.
a great businessman.
Every business he has has failed.
People
He's a good marketer.
People correlate him with
Of
great
course
marketing.
they do.
That's
Yes.
right.
Television shows.
Yeah.
Yes.
Being cool with the hip hop artists.
Yeah.
Before he got into politics heavily.
Yeah, I mean, for
he was
sure.
an entertainer.
What he did is, I agree, he's probably a master marketer. But right now, his money comes off of the sale of their name, not his. All his businesses go topsy turvy. His casinos go bankrupt. I mean, how many times has he declared bankruptcy?
$1 million loan from his daddy, which is not most of our testimonies either, right? Like, that's the thing that I would like for us to be honest about. Is it's one thing to aspire to an image, but I want you to dig a little deeper beneath that image and see what's really there.
Most people don't.
I know.
That's the problem.
That's why I said I want.
Well, you don't have to look far to see that he don't like black folk.
I got 5 kids, so when I leave here
got
today,
5 babies?
I got 5.
Okay.
I love them
You
all
look
too.
like a baby.
Yeah, 41. When I get in that car,
Yeah.
I got a lot of things going on. As soon as I walk out of here, I got a lot of things going on.
For sure.
That's usually what's happening with the majority of the people in America.
Well, if you vote for a Democrat and a Democrat wins, you'll get an increase in your child tax credit.
Which is what I'm saying. I feel you, but I
But
feel like
that's an important piece of policy.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Like I want you to make that clear.
for sure. So
the earned
right
income
now,
tax credit that would benefit you.
The earned income tax credit, which many of us forego unless we're in deep poverty. Kamala Harris wants to universally apply that across this country, except for the top 1%, that all of us get what would be proposed as double.
Correct.
Right? What we previously knew as a child income tax credit. So for all 5 of your kids, there is a check that comes
That's
with it.
money
Now,
in
it
your
doesn't
pocket.
defray, what it costs to raise kids and keep
for
them,
sure,
but
for
it
sure.
helps. And then if you got children who are under the age of 5, who are in early learning, right? Child care. Kamala Harris is proposing that we double the benefit for those of us who have children in child care. Because right now, to be real honest, if you're paying anything reasonable that you can afford for child care, your child is likely not being taught during those 8 hours of the day because it's just that expensive for your child to be in an early learning center where they are learning new words, understanding vocabulary, connecting with their emotions. And the truth is that 0 to 5 is the most rapid period of growth over the entirety of our life. 0 to 5, 90% of our brain develops between the ages of 0 and 5. So these are critical years. Donald Trump ain't thinking about us.
He can't even answer a question on child care.
And what he's talking about when he does consider us is he wants a 1,000% tariff?
Yeah.
Certainly at the minimum, a 20% tariff across the board.
Think inflation bad now.
Yeah.
So, for example, explain what a tariff is.
Yes. So a tariff is a tax. It is a fancy word for a tax. And so every piece of merchandise, goods, services that comes in outside of the United States, from a country outside the United States, Donald Trump is proposing that we tax that company or that country 20%. And he said he'd go up to
China's
1,000, but who
60%.
knows? But
See, that's my point.
But let me tell you
That's
what will
my example.
happen as a result.
Go ahead.
Do you know any company who decides that when they have to pay 20% more, that they're just going to eat that 20%?
Right.
No,
Or
they're
do
going
you
to
know
raise the price.
They're going to
Right.
pass it on.
Right.
They're gonna
They're
raise the
going to
But
pass
I take
it
your
on.
point. You're
No.
saying like people aren't trafficking in the minutia of politics and they need to be spoon fed. So I hear you.
Maybe not spoon fed, but more so in layman's terms, so they can understand
That's spoon fed
and
in layman's
digest it a little
terms.
bit better because
Yeah.
they just have other shit going
Yeah.
on.
We all
Well, he's
do.
about to take
We all
20%. You got $100. He's taking 20 of it.
There we go.
But I take your point about the policy piece. So I think you're right. A lot of us, like, we're getting up, we're going about our lives, and not everybody's pouring over the minutia of what's happening in Washington, D.C. But I have to implore people, this democracy that we take for granted, there are dictators and fascists all over the world. You
sure.
are responsible for participating in this. You are responsible for not being willfully ignorant to things happening around you. When I've tried to engage people who are voting for Donald Trump, they are incapable of articulating any piece of policy. So you're so passionate out here caping for this man,
Don't
but
know.
you can't articulate a
Correct.
single piece of policy, and everything you're feeding me is some Fox News talking point. So I try to have a little bit of patience, but at the end of the day, it's like, come on, guys, do better. And I want to be clear, I trust and believe in Black men. I think Black men are going to surprise everybody. This false narrative that the media put out to people to consume, it inflated this media narrative run by mostly white newsrooms with white people in charge. It was like a fetish. And the biggest block, what we talked about, Angela made this point on CNN, the biggest block of people who are voting for him are the conservative blocks of people. I wrote a book about this in 2019.
Say it louder.
Say it louder. Black voters, white voices, and saving our democracy. But in that book, it was white people across every socioeconomic background. It wasn't wealthy white people. It was white people from all over the place. So don't come lay the failure of this democracy at the feet of Black folks when it is white people who time and again have voted for him. Right here in Georgia, Brian Kemp, an expert in voter suppression. He ran in 2016 on anti-choice legislation. They call themselves pro-life, but it's really anti-choice. In 2016, he made that top of his agenda. Right here in Georgia, white women outpaced even white men in terms of voting for him. It is a white people problem. It is not our problem. But I don't want y'all brothers to feel like we don't believe in you and that we don't trust y'all to do the right thing. I think overwhelmingly, these Black men will cast a vote for Vice
I want to
President
ask all
Harris.
three of you, and I want you guys to answer for me. I did appreciate the Black man agenda that Kamala
Yes.
created. Now, look, I'm 41. I ain't never heard or seen that before.
Agreed.
So I know a lot of people were critical of what the breakdown of it was. But I'm over here. I'm just excited that we had one.
Agreed.
Yeah.
To that, you guys say what?
I think that my biggest frustration is not with the agenda. It's with folks who didn't realize that the agenda wasn't just the social media graphic. There was a 9-page document that supported that graphic that talked about everything from healthcare to black farmers to student loans to HBCUs. And so my thing is I would like for folks to dig deeper. And I don't think there's anything wrong with needing to be spoon-fed initially. I'm a church girl. You start on the milk and the word, and then you go to the meat. I understand.
For sure.
But I do think we have to start somewhere. And when you see a graphic that's put up with bullets, don't say, why is she only coming at us with crypto and weed? It was a lot more than that,
For sure.
you know? And I also think the really important thing to remember is, of course, every black president should have a black agenda.
For sure.
But a black agenda doesn't come without a demand. Those things that you saw in those documents came from meetings with her, came from conversations, came
With
from
black
demands with black men, with black people, with folks who care about black folks. And she's been working on that. The one thing that is remarkable about it is, and I'm here to talk about my podcast, not Kamala Harris.
I mean, we're gonna do that next. That's coming up next.
But
That's the next question.
I do want to say, you know, it's very important for people to realize she ain't new to this. She's true to this. She worked on these things at every level of government. She is by far the most qualified candidate in this race, and she's demonstrated that in the 90-plus pages of policy she also has on KamalaHarris.com.
All right, now can we talk about the podcast?
Let's
Wait,
get into it.
I did want y'all opinions
Yeah.
on that.
Oh,
real
yeah,
quick.
he said he wanted everybody.
Yeah,
my
just
bad.
something- just give me a
About
little
the
quick-
black man agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just echo my sister's thoughts
Okay.
right there. I think, again, for all the black men who say, well, I don't know, or what has she done for us? What is she doing for us? It sounds so based in the privilege of ignorance that you haven't even bothered to Google it, that you haven't even bothered to go to her website, that you haven't even bothered to peruse it. And these are policies that will literally help you. But I'm not trying to diss people who feel like this system has been harmful to me and this system has been oppressive to me, and we're trying to convince you by participating in this system that has hurt you that you will somehow be helped by it. I understand that frame of thought, but the good sister Latasha Brown, who runs Black Voters Matter, makes the point that we ain't asking you to believe in this system, we asking you to believe in you, brother. What does democracy look like if you are its architects? Right now we have the chance to be its architect, and even if you don't fully support Vice President Harris, even if there's policies that are not in this policy plan, you still have to participate in the system, even if your goal is to disrupt it. We want to disrupt it. We want you all to participate. We want every black person out there to force this government that if it is of the people, by the people, and for the people, what might America look like when those thoughts truly include us?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Like you, I was blown away and surprised to some extent that she produced an agenda specifically for black men. The way Obama answered the question when he was asked, what is his black agenda? He said his agenda for the American people is inclusive of what he wants to do for black folks. And by the way, not one of us would argue that health care wasn't something beneficial to black people, right? But the problem is that when black men are disproportionately negatively impacted by almost every system and structure that exists in this country, a universal policy will work when everybody is impacted at the same level that we are. They're not. And that means that you have to do, or put it this way, everybody doesn't get the same thing. Everybody gets what they need,
For sure.
right? So that we can be at parity. We can start at the starting line, all of us with full strength. And right now, that's not the case. And so I love that she wasn't afraid to lean into the fact that that agenda needed to be produced, that she would make solid commitments to black men. And for those who are, attempting to shred it, I would just say compare it to Donald Trump's. It's about like this table.
Which is all white, by the
No,
way.
it
A
is
white
black.
sheet with
I
no
appreciate
writing.
that. Yeah.
Not
Right?
a white sheet.
A white sheet with no writing.
Sheet.
That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
and so be a critic, but she's not running against God. She's not running against the perfect. She's running against a man in the form of Donald Trump.
sure.
And so elections are choices.
With 88
Choose
indictments.
this one or you choose that one.
That
And
part.
if you think your life's going to be better under him because you got a stimulus check, think again. Thank the
You know who
Democrats
else
for that
got a
stimulus check.
Stormy Daniels.
Well,
That's a
Stormy-
porn
Court
star
ordered.
for those
Well,
who
she's
needed
not.
to be.
She's an adult film actress.
Sorry, I'm
And
sorry.
she's very informed. She ran for Senate before, and she has been a great advocate. And she accused that was part of the trial that Donald Trump was accused of paying her hush money.
Oh yes,
Yes, for
I
the
saw-
time
I
that
heard-
they,
saw-
But I
heard
just
that.
want to make sure we know. I know she is very brilliant, but at
Yeah.
the time, he was not paying her for her political consultant services.
No,
Yeah.
they engaged
It was for something else.
Yes. He didn't pay her.
Extracurricular.
For
He didn't pay her
that,
for
though,
sex,
and
but he
we're
paid her
definitely
to not to say
yes,
anything
but we're not
about it.
disparaging sex workers.
Yeah.
But we're making the point that he is not this Christian, upright person that the
Well,
Christian
he
right
is
believes.
a convicted felon at this point. And he's the only person that I've seen that has been convicted by the feds and is not in jail.
And
For sure.
he got some more indictments. Just
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Pending.
coming
Just sitting
at you.
And that's what I think all of us need to keep in mind.
Oh, yeah.
This man's got 3
In a
other
state
trials
trooper.
waiting on him on the other side of this election. He ain't running for us.
But now if
he
he
is
win,
running
I was
for
about to
his
say,
freedom.
if he win the
running
presidential
for-
They
election,
go away.
he's going to pardon himself.
Well, no, he'll just tell the Justice Department to dispense with these cases. Get rid of them.
He's already said that
Supreme
he's the
Court
enemy
says he
within.
can.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court says he can direct the Attorney General on who to investigate, on what reasons, for what purposes.
He's committed to
He
doing
can
this.
direct that.
He said on day one.
Presidential immunity used to be for civil liability. Now, because of him, they had to
They didn't have
unpack
to.
and
Oh,
review.
yeah.
They had to unpack and review and analyze a case on criminal immunity. And they decided, especially Clarence Thomas the Hoochie, that it was going to be, it should be so, that presidents acting in their official capacity should have complete immunity.
And even if they're not acting in their official capacity, if they do anything in the framework of the White House while they are president, it can't be used as evidence against them if you do bring charges for acts that are taken outside of his official capacity.
This is crazy.
So it
That's
is
what
crazy.
we've been trying
This
to
is-
tell everybody.
But
We
the
screamed
the
it.
worst
We did a
part is
podcast.
that he
Yeah.
will know better this time.
We
He
did-
knows better, and that means this no holds bar. The
Yeah.
man
Tell
has
him what we
license
did,
to do whatever the
Anthony.
hell
We
he
did a
wants.
podcast that just dropped today. Actually, I don't know when this is dropping, so maybe it's yesterday. If when
Monday.
Don't give a day. Don't give
okay,
a day.
don't give a
It
day.
dropped.
Well, I need this to drop before we do our live show tomorrow in Atlanta, but I digress. So
Anyway.
we did a podcast on what is fascism. And talking about fascism is upon us, basically. And we talk about all of these things and more. We have been talking about this. We talked about the impacts of Project 2025 on Native
whole
Land
show,
Pod.
the
An
title of it.
entire show is called "What is Project 2025?" I think actually
still
it might be our
available.
most watched show at this point, at least on YouTube. I don't know about the downloads on.
And you can
audio,
still
but-
go back and see all of these podcasts. So we do a lot of evergreen subjects that are still relevant today. So you can go back and see the Project 2025 one. I say that because a lot of our listeners say, do Project 2025. Like, we did it already.
I think the beauty of the show is that you may not be addicted to politics. You may not watch news, around the clock or at all. And your information may be coming largely from social media. I think the three of us in our varied experiences, I think have a good deal of experience so far with this show of integrating what's happening in culture.
The Native Land.
The Native Land
Native Land
Pod.
Pod.
Native Land Pod. You can get it anywhere you get a podcast.
And on YouTube.
Just type it in.
at
And on
Native Land.
YouTube, we, like y'all have video on YouTube, which drops every Thursday. Subscribe.
Mini pods on Monday.
Mini pods on Monday. Our last one was about
Anyway.
Raunchy.
Wait, so I was,
Public-
not-
public peas.
I was gonna get to that. What do y'all talk about on y'all podcast?
politics,
Honey,
culture,
everything.
We
everything
argue
is
about
in that
everything.
space.
It's funny because people that when we first rolled out our podcast, I remember seeing comments. They're like, "You Democratic shills, you guys are just gonna be agreeing about everything." We don't agree on nothing. Okay,
Like,
Practically.
rarely.
we do not
agree.
agree on anything. We agree on big picture things, but we don't agree on the means to the end.
How
She
to
go
get
left,
there.
I go right. He go down the middle. Like
Yeah.
we don't. And I think what I appreciate about the disagreement is it isn't like, is Donald Trump a fascist? No, of course not. It's not
Right.
that. It's like, well, you forgot to say these 15 ways that he's a fascist, or we talk about whether or not Kamala Harris should be talking to conservative voters.
Should
and if,
she go on Fox News?
is there anybody undecided left? And we'll
Yeah.
argue about those things. So what we really are having, to me, is a higher level conversation in nuance, and that's an art form that is lost mostly in media right now, especially on cable news,
But we also
which
just
we all
talk
have a
about-
background in.
Yes, but we also just talk about our lives. I mean, it's whether we were in front of a camera or not, you would get the same conversation. So
Like we talked about Omarosa. Omarosa walked by.
No,
our-
I don't want to talk about.
I just want to
Omarosa.
use this as an example. Just one example. You said our lives. So we
That's
were
true.
honest. He's really uncomfortable. This is great. This is,
You
I'm
guys
not
need to
uncomfortable.
do
I
a
just
chance
thought
to
y'all
say
were
something.
a lot.
Well,
Anyway,
let me be more.
What happened? What happened?
Because he said we're a lot.
Now
I'm
she
about
gotta
to be
tell the
more.
story.
They were a
I'm gonna
lot
be
on
brief.
this instance.
Anyway, so we were on the stage at the DNC. I just want to remind your listeners that Omarosa was gung ho, no pun intended, for Donald Trump in 2016. I will never forget this. I was at a National Action Network convention, and she got up on the stage and she said, "At the name of Donald Trump, every knee shall bow, every tongue must confess." I said, bitch, that is a scripture about Jesus Christ. If you don't go. So as soon as she got done, I got up to the mic and I said, don't let nobody piss on you and tell you it's rain. I don't care if they do look like you. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. And when I saw her march her hot trails across the
we were at the DNC where our stage
The
was.
Democratic
Yeah.
Convention.
I
She
heard
walked
stage.
past, and so I see her, and I made a face. Angela has no she could have ignored me, but she looked
We're
like,
live.
What
We're
you
live in a
look-
show
we're
at
live.
this point, and they're
What
like,
you looking like that?
you see her, and I'm like, what's happening?
like, why are you here?
What's going on?
Right,
She's taking
now
pictures,
we
and now she's
talking
taking
about
pictures
it.
of us, and I'm like, what
Get
is?
here.
We're in our show.
Wait, she was taking pictures of y'all?
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, you know
What
how
is
I
she
feel
doing?
about you. It is
Everyone was
clear
taking
there is a
pictures. It was
viral
not
moment
unique.
of how I feel about
Oh,
you,
not
man.
Andrew was
unique.
mad because he was in the middle of making a point.
But
No,
he-
no,
and he-
no. We
no,
were-
That
he-
is
but he-
part of it.
No,
That is part of
No,
it.
I
he's a
just don't think
diplomat.
you
He
give
is a
someone like
diplomat.
that shine.
Shine the energy.
Not on our
That's
platform.
what
Well, do you
said.
think that she should be welcomed back home? We welcome home.
I-
That's
I
the
understand
home
both.
everything.
I understand both.
It isn't-
points though.
Well,
But now you understand we be fighting on the
Good.
show.
What-
Should
what
she be
would have-
Should she be
welcome
welcome
home?
back
what
home?
would have
This is
otherwise
great.
been
This is
irrelevant
great.
He
was made
also
relevant.
had a big fight on the show about Karens
I
and
prefer
Katie's.
people to stay irrelevant. If I
Should she
So
be
you saying
welcome
they
back
shouldn't have
home?
even gave her no
not a
phase and pay her
chance.
no
Why
mind?
would I
You're
name
gonna
check
Is she
that?
ignore it.
welcome home,
Of
Andrew?
course.
Is she welcome home?
She look. I'm not the
see,
savior,
see.
but she's. All, we're all
Nah, he not the
redeemable.
savior.
We are all redeemable.
This is
Redeemable
Andrew
in
on the
Jesus'
podcast.
name or redeemable in just the name of democracy?
I don't think people should be judged forever by their worst day or their worst action.
What
or
about
their
their
worst
worst
words.
4 years?
Right, it wasn't one day. That was
Again.
kind of our point.
See, this is how we got in a fight
we
about
all
So
can
is
be
Trump
redeemed.
redeemable?
Yeah, he confesses. Unfortunately, he's a platonic liar. He,
Where you go?
can he make some amends?
I lost my brother in this.
He does. No.
Hey, you know
he
this
doesn't-
getting clipped up,
He
right?
doesn't make an amends, right? He's never apologized for anything. He's never admitted that he's actually done the
But
things
even
that
wanna
he's
hear
done.
him
But they're not
apologize at this
talking
point,
about.
though.
Andrew is talking. I
don't
think
wanna hear
Andrew
him
is talking
apologize.
He's
about
talking
from
about
the-
Jesus.
right? He's
No,
talking about
but
from
I'm
a Christian
saying-
perspective, and they're
I
asking.
got that part.
But I just
I'm
don't
a
want
Christian.
Andrew. I don't want to clip Andrew
got
talk
you.
about Donald Trump is redeemable. Like Andrew, you.
What I'm saying is
know.
everybody is redeemable.
But redeemable
Yes,
in Jesus'
Andrew,
name
but
or redeemable for
like,
democracy?
Do you think that Donald Trump is
That's
right?
the point that I agree with.
So if
He's not redeemable for democracy, bro.
well, if he had another shot at president and actually won, and then acted like
But you know that's not
That
going
ain't gonna happen.
Andrew.
I know. So
the
let me tell
percentages
you.
of that
Of
happening
course-
is extremely
No.
low.
It's not
Right.
going to happen. I mean, the man
Why
is.
are you doing this? Just say no.
No,
He's a
I still
fascist.
believe.
You
I
giving-
still believe that people can be redeemed from
Redeemed
bad
how?
decisions.
You're talking about in Christianity.
I'm
I'm
not
not
talking about
so
I like
Andrew-
this
Christian.
podcast.
So what
I
Andrew
like
want to
this
say
podcast.
in
This is
Jesus,
not-
in
I like
Jesus'
This is how we
name.
got.
This is
No.
We got
No.
we got cussed out because
No,
we were
it's
talking
not
about
just
white
faith.
women, Karens and Katies, and we had this whole fight about.
Wait. What's Karen? I know Karen's. What's
There was a
Katie's?
woman-
We
They're
added
just
Katie
They're just
because
white.
Katie wrote into our show.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I
No,
forgot.
what
You're
she
right.
did
was
right
in
our
a video
show.
that
Yeah,
we
it was a
played
video we
where
played.
she voted for Donald Trump once and then has decided that she was voting for Kamala Harris this time.
And
she
she's
write in
now
our
she's
shows?
Katie
No,
and not
we
Karen.
played a clip
Well,
from
she's a
somebody
Katie. Her
else's
name
show.
is Katie.
So we were.
She's a
Oh,
Karen.
I'm thinking you done invented that.
No,
I'm thinking Karen is like
Well, we
the
know
original
the
white
Karen.
girl, and Katie
We
is
know
the
the
But we
cool
ended
white
up
Those
girl.
are
calling that
Katie's
episode the
Karens
Katies
and-
and the Karens.
So my point was, they were like, "Oh, forget her." Da 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 da. And my
We
point
didn't
is
say
that
forget her, but it did start with a F.
Well, in other words,
was
it was
so
like
mad.
this. She's irrelevant. My point was, you don't win elections by losing voters.
That's
you win
true.
elections by adding
But
to the
he
number.
went too
I
far.
understand what you're saying.
No, it's
And
how
then,
elections
and then
are won.
At the end of that
This is
episode, he goes,
true.
F Katie. And I was like,
It's mathematics.
And he never go. We
He don't
curse.
never
He don't
cuss.
never
No,
curse.
because they were
Screw
like,
with
"Here
us.
you are for Katie." I'm like, "Fuck Katie. This ain't about Katie.
Oh,
this is about. This is
Katie
about."
don't even know you.
It's about what you said.
No, this is about the
He's mad
win.
It's about the
again now.
win.
This is about the win.
It's about the win.
I got
But
it.
at
He's
least,
mad.
at least
Look
she
at
changed.
his
At least she
forehead.
changed her
His eyebrows
perspective
are up.
because
I agree. Redeemable.
Right,
she's
because
redeemable.
because
I got
Alexa
it.
Scott
I
changed
got
her
it.
perspective. Also, Alexa Scott said that she was voting for Trump.
What happened with her? She ain't paid attention to the last 8 years.
Right.
We need to check the roles and
So,
make sure these people
it was
cast
Alexis
a ballot.
Scott
That's
redeemable?
what I'm
Right.
saying, Andrew.
Right.
I think
Don't
has
ask
redeemed
him about
herself?
nobody. Let's use
I
a different
don't-
word.
yeah.
He's getting caught up in redeemable. Are you gonna go stand shoulder to shoulder with these people
No.
at the
No.
ballot box?
He's not gonna do that.
no.
Are you
No,
going
that's
to
not my
go
role.
stand on the stage when Donald Trump was getting sworn into
none
office?
of that is my role. All I'm
Okay.
saying is
See,
it's not my role.
His redemption
What
is
I'm
about
saying is
Jesus Christ altar call
In
on
that, but
Sunday.
their redemption, and
I've
by the
definitely
way,
tuned into this
nobody
podcast.
cares whether
What
or not
episode
I
came out today?
believe somebody's redeemable.
Today? Episode came
It's
out
what
today?
you do.
It drops every Thursday.
What you do. That's
Every
it.
Thursday, the podcast drops. Every
I'm gonna
Monday,
listen
the
on my
mini
way
pod
home.
drops.
I
But I
just-
want y'all to know,
My
we don't
Christianity is in
No, I got
development.
but we don't just talk
It's on the
politics.
short
We do.
bus.
We talk
No.
politics a lot.
You
but
know
we
what?
talk
You know why I
culture,
like you guys
everything.
She's
already?
our sports analyst.
I like you
I
guys.
know,
Oh, you talking about
wait,
sports?
Hold
I'm
on.
a
This is
sports.
why-
I'm a sports expert.
This is why I
Go
like
Hawks.
you guys.
Definitely talk about
Go
You
sports.
guys are having
and
a
Go
where the
Hawks.
Hawks from?
Ask
you
her
guys
some-
are having
Here
an
in
enjoyable
Ask her
conversation.
some questions about
And I
sports.
love podcasts when it's a conversation going.
It
I don't
is.
like
No,
a
it's a
podcast
conversation.
where it's too bullet pointy and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
No, it's an
I'm-
authentic
You guys are having
conversation.
an authentic conversation.
Well, we
Now-
go on rant sometimes too.
I like that.
Go
That's
off.
fine.
AWF. Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
End the show, bruh.
You can do an absentee ballot.
All right, we're
Do
gonna
the
talk
show
about this
He
off
from
gonna,
the
air.
polls.
he gonna go to the damn polls.
Do
Bye,
the
bye,
show
guys.
from the
We're gonna
polls.
talk about-
96.1
He going to the
96.1
damn
to
polls.
be
y'all.
Ferrari Simmons, you know BT, and these crazy people
Welcome
right
home,
here.
native land.